Liberal answer to the conservative argument that the health system is fine the way it is, and the insurance industry, by the way, is awesome. As for the many, many cries against a publicly funded insurance plan, well, Democratic Congressman Anthony Weiner of New York is all over it. Congressman Weiner has cast himself as the healthcare version of Clarence the Angel, forcing everyone in Congress to think about what life would be like without a very popular, already existing, publicly funded health insurance plan. Congressman Weiner introduced an amendment tonight that would eliminate Medicare. Of course, Mr. Weiner didn't actually want Medicare to be eliminated, but he did want to force every conservative on the House Energy and Commerce Committee to have to go on the record with their position on the government-run health plan upon which 43 million American voters rely. In other words, really, Republicans? You're against government-funded health care? Care to go on the real record with that? Care to vote to kill Medicare? Congressman Anthony Weiner joins us now. He has just stepped outside the hearing room in Congress to join us. Congressman, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Rachel.
How did the vote go on your amendment?
Well, for some reason, I guess Republicans don't like publicly funded, publicly administered health plan, except for Medicare, and I guess except for the Veterans Administration, and except for the health care that our military gets through the Department of Defense. The fact of the matter is, what we've learned is that government-administered health care works pretty darn well. It's got lower overhead, and people like it. So when my Republican colleagues pound the drum and pound the podium about how they hate government-run health care, I guess they haven't looked at what they get.
When you were deciding about what to do with this amendment, deciding about what your role was going to be in healthcare, what you could do in this committee, did the Medicare idea come to you because you knew it would be an embarrassment? Did you think that any Republicans would actually vote against Medicare?
Well, I didn't, and you should make note that this is the 44th anniversary to the day of the creation of Medicare. But it does lead us to the next logical step where I need my colleagues on both sides of the aisles to start to come to. And that is not why have a public option, but why have a private option at all. If we know, for example, that the one experiment we have is very successful in publicly funded health care through Medicare, why do we even need the insurance companies? What a constructive role are they playing? We know they're taking tens of billions of dollars each year and putting it into profits that should be going into health care. So tomorrow I'm going to be taking the next step and offering a true single-payer health care plan. And I wanted people today to start to think about, hey, maybe that's the way we do it. It's simpler, and we know that it works.
Why do you think that single payer hasn't been a prominent option on the table thus far in the healthcare debate?
I think to some degree, we on the left have been a little bit afraid of our own shadow here. And we also forgot one thing from the 1993 and 94 debates about health care. You know, people understand the things they have. They want this debate to be simple in terms that they get. People understand Medicare. They know their parents have it, their grandparents, or they themselves have it. They know that it's efficient. They know it's not perfect. They know there are gaps that need to be filled. But they also know they'd much rather have government or their congressman be able to call and make those changes than wait on an 800 number or go buy shares of stock in order to influence policy. But right now we've got a cumbersome plan that is hanging by a thread because it's built on the foundation of private insurance, which a lot of people don't like.
When you look at the opposition to moving forward on health care reform, not only just opposition to an idea like single payer, but opposition to the very idea of significantly changing the system we've got now at all, that opposition is coming not just from Republicans, but from conservative Democrats as well. Do you think it's an ideological liberal-conservative split, or do you think this is about the influence of the insurance industry and other industries that profit from the system being the way they are now on members of Congress?
Well, invariably, in rooms like the one behind me, status quo is probably the most powerful force in Washington. That's particularly true when that status quo benefits a large industry like the insurance industry. You know, this notion, and even President Obama says it sometimes, that people like their insurance policy. No, they don't like their insurance policy. I don't know anyone who wakes up in the morning and says, boy, I can't wait to dial the 800 number for my local insurance company. I think what people realize, though, is that, frankly, it's there, and the lobbyists around here work very hard to keep it there. And that's a considerable force. But there is something of a right-left divide here. I mean, most of the problems we have in the Democratic caucus come from the right side. And look, they're getting leaned on pretty hard, and they're doing what they think is right, but I think it's wrong for the country.
Congressman Anthony Weiner of New York. It was a bold mood today in the committee. Thanks very much for joining us to talk about it. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.